Hi, this is Mr. West, and today we're doing a Khan Academy tutorial on converting fractions to decimals. So what we're going to do here is first we're going to just go through each problem and understand what operation we're doing to convert these fractions into decimals, and then I'm going to show you how do we determine if they're repeating and why they're repeating. So first we have 10 over 3, that's our fraction, 10 thirds. What you're going to do here is every time you see this fraction, essentially you can look at it as division. So this is really 10 divided by 3. One of the things you can always do is you can use a calculator in 10 divided by 3 and it will give you the decimal, and you can convert those decimals to percentage. It's a pretty useful process. However, let's say you don't have a calculator handy. What are you going to do? You're going to use long division. So I'm going to first demonstrate long division using the box method, and then I'll show it using the typical long division method, the standard long division method after that. So first we have 10 divided by 3. So in each little box here, I'm going to write the 10. Okay, so that's my 10. And then outside the box, I'm going to write 3. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to see how many times that 3 goes into each one of these numbers. And when I say how many times does it go into, I'm thinking of the multiples of 3. So here's some of the multiples of 3, just for your awareness. And I look at 3 going into 1, and I see that it starts off at 3. So I already know that it doesn't go into it. So really it's 0, and it goes in 0 times, and that's 0. Okay, so 3 times 0 equals 0, and that's why that number goes here. This number right here seems to confuse people the most. Why is that number the way it is? And I'll give you another example, and you'll see that it's a little bit easier to understand than you might think. So first off, I get a 1 after subtracting. 1 minus 0, that's my remainder. I have to bring this remainder up for the next digit over. So then that becomes 10. So if I'm looking here at my chart, let me erase some of these arrows. Whoops. Okay, I'm looking at the number 10. 10 would be right in this area, and I see the closest I can get to it without going over is 9. Well, how many times do I multiply 3 to get 9? So again, I'm going to write 9 here. Okay, because that's as close as 10 as I can get, and it took me 3 times to get it. So 10 minus 9 is 1, and that is my remainder. Now, for some of the beginner level math, like 6th grade, you're going to just write 3 remainder 1 is your problem. But since we're working on decimals, and that's not a choice, what we need to do is we need to figure out which one of these options it is. So we have 3, but we know it's going to be either C or D. But now we need to figure out what's the decimal after that. So I have my remainder, and if I have a remainder and I'm trying to get a decimal, I need to add a box. So I add a box here, and anytime I add a box and I don't have a decimal place already, I'm going to put a decimal. So now I have a 0. You can just imagine that there's a 0 in that empty box, and I'm going to bring up this 1 again. So if I bring up that 1 again, it's 10, and I'm going to have the same occurrence as last time. So 10 minus 9, it took me 3 times to get there, and I have remainder 1. You see that I'm in the same situation. I'm in a repeated process. If I were to continue doing this, I go the next decimal place over. There's a 0 there. I bring up the 1. You see that I have the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to keep getting this 3 because I keep getting remainder 1. So this is going to be a repeating decimal, and it's going to be 3.3 repeating. So I'm going to go ahead and punch that in, and I'm all set. Okay, rewrite the fraction as a decimal. We have another one. This is not going to be a repeating one. But anyway, so this is the other way that we can divide. This is just typical long division. This is not using a box. And it's the same process. It just doesn't have the same structure. So 4 goes into 6 one time. Okay, and I'm looking at multiples of 4. That's 0, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and so on, okay? So it goes in one time because the closest I can get to 6, which is right here, is 4. So I'm going to find out how much is left over, and I get 2 left over, but then I have to bring down this 9. This is kind of like when I brought up the other number to the next place over. So I have 29 that I'm considering now. Now, where's 29 on my chart? Well, 29 is, I got to keep going a little bit, 28, 32. Okay, so 29 is right here. So it's between, this is 7 and this is 8, okay, if I'm doing multiples. It's between 7 and 8. I can't go to 8 because that's over, so I got to put 7 down. So put 7 down, and I get 28, remainder 1, okay? And there's nothing left over, right? So there's nothing left here. This would be like I'm out of boxes, but I have a remainder 1. So what do? I have to put a decimal down. Let me erase this just for room. Okay, and then essentially we can, if we put a decimal down, there's a 0 here we can fill in, and we bring this 0 down to make this 10. So I made it 10, and now I say, okay, how many times does 4 go into 10? 10's over here. Okay, and that's 2 times, and that's going to give me 8. So drop that down, and now I have another remainder, so I have to fill in another 0, bring it down. The number is 20. I can get to 20 exactly, and that's 5, remainder 0. So that's what you want. You want remainder 0 with these decimals, and I get 17.25 exactly. So now I have it rewritten. I converted it, as a decimal. Okay, I think we just have 2 more here. All right, 1/3. This is a classic one. Okay, so this time, I'm glad we have this problem because before we've been doing where the inside number, which is the dividend, is smaller than the divisor. No, bigger than the divisor. So now we're going reverse where the dividend, the number inside, is smaller than the divisor. So the 3 is on the outside, and you're saying, okay, 3 goes into 1. Well, it doesn't go into 1. It's 0. 0 times, remainder 1. So what do? Well, I go immediately to my decimal, and I'm going to add a box. Okay, so this is the process. And then I put a 0, I bring up the 1, and I have a 10. So now I have my decimal here because it's smaller. Anytime the number on top is smaller than the bottom, it's going to be a decimal with 0 as your whole number, quote unquote. So I know these 2 numbers are out, and it's between these 2. So now I just need to decide what's my next number. Well, 3 goes into 10 3 times. We saw this in our first problem. Repeating decimal, right? We had the same situation where this keeps going and going and going, remainder 3. So it's going to be B as my final answer. Anytime it's a repeating decimal, we can write that little hat on it. And 0.3 is my answer. Last question. So here we go, 7 divided by 4. This is going to be a terminating decimal. 7 divided by 4. Okay, so then it goes in 1 time, that's 4. I have left over a 3. I have to make a box, and anytime I make a box, I have to put a decimal. And then I put a 0, because that's what's left there. And I know that goes in 7 times, and that's 28. Remainder 2. You can see I'm going a little bit faster. Pause at any time or rewind. You can also ask questions in the comment section below. I have to add another box. I should have done dotted line with this one, that I added this box. There we go. Little art going on. Okay, so there's 0 there. I bring up the 2. It's 20. 4 goes into 20 5 times. Look at this amazing handwriting. I have remainder 0. So it's 1.75. Okay, so 1.75 is my decimal form of this fraction. And I'm all set. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a comment if you have any questions on it. Pretty simple process. Again, you can do it on a calculator, but this is how you do it by hand if that's what your teacher is looking for. And I look forward to seeing you next time right here on Wes Explains Best.